By felling a tree in the correct manner, a good working height is achieved for limbing and bucking. As shown here, the operator has felled the tree across his existing pile. A good working height saves you strain on your back, no bending or lifting the saw. Chain is further from the ground to avoid rocks and other obstacles. Limbing is faster and easier because limbs fall away from the stem, and it makes for easier bucking and piling of logs. When a tree is felled, spring poles sometimes occur. A spring pole is a limb or small tree pinned down by a felled tree. A lot of tension is on this wood, and a few cuts are needed to release some of the tension. Then a final cut is made to get rid of this hazard. There are two methods for limbing a felled tree: the 6-point method and the sweeping method. In the 6-point method, the first cut is made on the opposite side of the stem with the pushing part of the chain. The saw rests on the stem and the handle is used as a lever. The second cut is made by pulling the saw in over the stem with the guide bar flat on the stem and the pushing part of the chain cuts. The third cut consists of bringing the guide bar over the stem and resting the saw against your thigh and stem, using the pulling part of the chain to make the cut. The fourth cut is done by leaning forward, using the pushing part of the chain and pressing down on the handle. The fifth cut is on the top of the stem, with the saw on its side and engine facing up. Thumb is on the throttle and the pushing part of the chain is used. While the saw is in this position, cut off the limbs underneath the stem with the pushing part of the chain. The last cut is made with the pulling part of the chain on the opposite side of the stem. In the sweeping method, start cutting with the pushing part of the saw and move the saw forward on the same side as you were standing. Then, with the saw tilted up and guide bar flat on the stem, pull the saw towards you and cut with the pushing part of the chain. Move the saw to the opposite side of the stem and move forward using the pushing part of the chain once again. After every 2 sections, tilt the engine up and cut underneath with the pushing part of the chain and pulling the saw back. On large limbs, make an initial cut away from the stem, then cut the remainder off the stem. When bucking, position yourself properly and use the pulling part of the chain. For logs in tension, make the first cut on top, but not too deep. Your saw may pinch. Make the second cut underneath and up, slightly offset from the first cut, and watch out for the stem springing back. Use the tongs to pull and lift the end of a log. It saves on back strain. As can be seen in this situation, all logs have been stacked properly for recovery by the forwarder. Piles are approximately 15 to 20 feet apart, and the boughs are left in the middle for the forwarder to travel on. These boughs also protect the topsoil by keeping the wheels of the forwarder from tearing up the ground. This protection allows for quicker regeneration of new growth.